Still says off there. Cool. Good evening, colleagues. Welcome to our last live briefing from today's proceedings. I know it's been a long day, so this one will be the shortest of the live briefings we have had. So by now, you know that Congress deliberated and voted on 43 constitutional amendments. The candidates for both the federal leadership position as well as the deputy federal chairperson had the opportunity to address all the delegates. Voting opened on time and officially closed at 6 o'clock. The decision was to originally close at 5, but it was further reviewed that we extend it by an hour to close at 6 in order to allow a total of 17 delegates out of the more than 2,000 delegates who were not able to cast their votes by the original deadline. And it was due to a variety of unfortunate circumstances beyond their control. However, we made that provision so that no delegate can be disadvantaged from voting. So the reasons why these delegates were not able to vote by 5 include the fact that some had to return home after displaying COVID-like symptoms at the hybrid venues, and others had their phones stolen overnight. We are proud to announce that our groundbreaking online voting technology to elect our new party leadership has gone smoothly throughout the day. Now that voting for our leadership has concluded, all the voting data will be backed up on a flash disk in the presence of all the candidate agents and an independent auditor, as I said earlier, here at our Nerve Center at our offices. This flash disk plus a backup will then be placed in a special envelope which is sealed with a plastic tab marked with a serial code which breaks when it is opened. So it will be safely stored in a locked safe overnight. The results are scheduled to be announced approximately around 1400 tomorrow, after which the federal leader, the newly elected federal leader, will then deliver their acceptance speech. Some of the key amendments that were passed today since the last briefing include the fact that Federal Council now has 3 deputy chairpersons and that provincial leaders are not allowed to serve on selection panels whatsoever. One amendment, however, that was not accepted was the proposal that we introduce a deputy federal leader and that position be elected by federal Congress. This was not passed, and the Constitutional Review Committee argued that it would unnecessarily create another center of power within the party. A proposal was also brought on the table to remove the chief whip of the National Assembly from the party's National Management Committee, and this was also not passed. Congress also voted against a proposal imposing term limits on senior office bearers. So given that these were the key amendments, tomorrow's program will start with a closed session that will end at exactly or around 9 a.m. And then the interim leader, John Steenhuisen, will deliver the usual leader's address. That will then be followed by the address or the presentation by our head of policy, Gwen Ngwenya, to present the policy report from the policy conference. Throughout the day, there are 38 resolutions that will be debated and voted upon. We will also be getting reports from the DA ancillary bodies, such as the DA Youth, the DA Association of Councillors, the DA members of Provincial Legislatures Network, DA Abroad, and the Democratic Alliance Student Organization. And of course, we will end the day with the announcement of the successful leaders who would have been voted by delegates, and the newly elected federal leader will take their traditional opportunity of addressing Congress. Thanks very much for your patience and for cooperating with our media team throughout the day. If you have any questions, we'll take them up now. So far, there are no questions trickling in. We'll just give it another minute to see if they're coming.
Here's a question from Natasha from the SABC.
Sure.
I missed it. apologies if I did. How many delegates voted? I heard you say that some delegates had to go home because they displayed COVID symptoms.
Okay, so the provision was made for 17 delegates who were affected by different reasons. So at the time when the deadline for 5 p.m. was approaching, the presiding officers rightfully then reviewed the deadline for voting and extended it to 6 p.m. to make sure that those 17 candidates, those 17 delegates who were by somehow affected in terms of concluding their voting can be accommodated and be voting. Is there another one?
Yeah. Here's another question from Yan Yan. By which margin was the decision on term limit passed?
Well, my recollection was that it was a majority. I can confirm after this, Yan, to make sure that I give you the exact figures for that vote. I don't have the exact figure now, but I'll make sure that before this evening concludes, you have that figure. Is that all? Cool. Thanks, colleagues.